Enjoy all your favorite sports like never before at BetMGM. Sign up using code Hawkeye and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. When you register with BetMGM, you'll get instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, live betting options, player props, and the best daily promotions in the business. And with BetMGM at your fingertips, every play and every game matters more than ever. Place your money line, prop, and parlay bets with the king of sportsbooks today. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly and offer resources to help you make appropriate choices. BetMGM.com for T's and C's. 21 plus to wager. Iowa only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days from issuance. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry's starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover, all for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter code FACE at checkout. That's harrys.com, code FACE. Enjoy.
This is
Make It Plain.
M.I.P.
With Masamela Matfumo.
Mark Thompson.
Make It Plain.
Get woke.
Much anticipation of Joe Biden's speech in Atlanta, but did it really deliver the message we needed to hear? And do we need a message, or do we just need these bills or a bill to pass the Senate? One of the organizations you all know I've been involved with and work very closely with, and have been saying that it's not really a good strategy to put all the weight on one organization such as this one to fix the problems in democracy with no support from the legislature or the executive branch. They're in Georgia, and who better to hear from in terms of a reaction to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's speeches than Black Voters Matter. We're joined now by LaTosha Brown, April Albright, and Cliff Albright from Georgia. Hey, y'all, what's happening?
Hello, Reverend
What's
Barnes.
going on, man?
Hey, holding on. LaTosha, I'll begin with you. Your general reaction to Joe. No, let's do this first of all. You all did not go to the speech. Why not?
I think we wanted to send our intention was not to be antagonistic or combative, but it was to send the message that how serious we are about voting rights, that this is something for the last year. Here we are, in 2022, and we finally hear the speech that we felt should have been given in 2021. The bottom line is we think that a lot of momentum from just coming off an election where people showed up in historic numbers, where we were able to bring in and flip 2 Senate seats, that was the perfect moment, the perfect time to build off that momentum. And literally, particularly since the attack on voting rights happened immediately, that would actually be able to use that momentum, the fact that the attacks were coming, and literally say that voting rights is a priority. And so, part of the reason why we didn't attend today, is because we wanted to send the message that we are beyond the speech phase, that at this point, what we want to see is actions behind words. And I think that he gave that President Biden gave a strong speech. I think it was a speech of, when you talk about the message, yes, that's the message that we want to hear. That's a message, that we've actually helped shape, I believe, that we've been saying those things for months now. Movement did this, right? This is what we've been saying for a number of months. Now we're at the point now that, to see these actions, we want to see the actions that align with the words that he spoke today.
April, isn't it true too that not only was Black Voters Matter, but in conference with other voting groups in Georgia, really very few, if any of them, attended, correct?
That's right. 3 or 4 of the, organizations that spend a lot of resources and capital and time, to fight to get the 2 senators and to allow for Georgia to elect a Democratic president, join hand in hand in order to make this statement. Because as LaTosha just said, we want to be able to convey the seriousness of this moment and our disappointment in the prolonged, unnecessary delay in hearing this stern language, regarding the filibuster and its use and carving, out an exception, for them. So it's not just Black Voters Matter, right? And it's not even just the Georgia organizations. There are also national organizations who also understand, why we chose to do, what we did and not attending the meeting. So yeah, it wasn't just us.
And Cliff, yet there were some national organizations there. Is there somewhat of a disconnect between some of the national representation and those of you who are actually doing work on the ground in the local states?
No, not really. We didn't put out a call for everybody to not attend, right? Just the crew of organizations here in Georgia made a decision as the state that was hosting this, that we would take a certain position, but we were fine with some of our national friends and partners who attended. In fact, just early this morning, MLK III and Andrea King were on a show where they shouted out the Georgia group. And they said, we understand their frustrations. We support their decision. In fact, they said it was a hard decision for them on whether or not they would attend, and so, but they said ultimately they decided to. And they mentioned that they had spoken with us and that we supported them and they support us. So there's no light between us, or any of those groups, especially the groups, because some of those groups that were attending groups we've been rolling with, as you know, Mark, are groups we've been rolling with all year long, in some cases much longer than that, but at least all year long in this voting rights struggle. Some of those groups are groups, like Legal Women's Voters and People for the American Way, who attended, who we literally been getting arrested with outside the White House. So no, there's no light between us at all. And in fact, we're still working on putting together a joint debrief or presser tomorrow morning that will be a combination of the Georgia groups as well as some of those national groups.
So, LaTosha, where does that leave us after the speech? Do you have any optimism that the Senate is going to do anything this week?
Listen, we are cautiously optimistic. That's the word that we're using at this point. But Liz, let me say this. I talked to a mentor of mine this morning, and he reminded me, that when our people, there were 600 people, Black folk, in the 60s that were on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, that walked across that bridge, that were met by dogs, that were met by billy clubs, to have the audacity in the mid 60s, where racism and structural racism was king, to not have resources, not to have government on their side. Quite frankly, all they had was their faith, their bodies, and their belief that they were standing on the right side and that they were going to be relentless in getting voting rights. That's the kind of attitude we got to have. That's who we are. So at the end of the day, whether it's Manchin or Cinema or whatever, this ain't the first time we done ran into some obstructionists or some racists. This isn't the first time that we've actually had to fight and stand in the space of those that seek to actually marginalize us or take away our power. We have to be relentless and we have to be resilient around it. And we have to literally not be able to take any excuse I'm happy about the speech. I think there are things that he brought in the speech, but at the end of the day, he said, let's work. That's what we expect. And work for us looks like you're going to deliver. That at the end of the day, you are going to use everything in your power to deliver. And so we will continue in this fight as well. But at the end of the day, I think what is going to change and put the pressure is that what we have shown, what I think we demonstrate is movement is created this moment. That movement created the context. Movement helped write the speech that was today and put things in action. And so we're going to have to really recognize that this is the moment for us all to lean in, not to say, oh, they got it. That's part of the reason why we got to where we are right now, that many of us have actually disengaged from the process and let those that are supposed to be in power just take over. We have to literally demand that going forward, that the Senate pass this bill, that whether it's Manchin, whether that's pulling, however you need to do it, whatever you need to do to whip those votes, we expect you to deliver, just like we delivered the votes we did on the ground for the 2020 election and the 2021 Senate race.
So, and that's the $1 million question, I think, too, April. If this does not happen in the Senate, the way Black Voters Matter delivered in 2020, is that possible again, do you think? Is that even plausible?
I think there's, Black folk come out and vote. Quiet as the narrative is always shaped that we do, right? So the issue isn't that. The issue right now that we're facing is that these laws that have been passed in these states all have mechanisms that permit the Republicans to divert the results of a fair and full election. So that means that even if we showed out in the same way in the same numbers, if they don't like the results in Georgia, for example, next year with the election of Stacey Abrams, then there's mechanisms they have in place to remove elected officials in local counties, to subvert the results, right? And not certify them. That could happen this year in this election cycle. Mm-hmm. And so if the Senate doesn't move, right, it doesn't matter if Black folk or brown folk or other members of marginalized communities come together and create a coalition in numbers, if you have a party that has the mechanisms to undo that. And so that is what we're looking at. If the federal government, if the Senate and the House and the president don't act now.
More MIP after this message. Cliff, as a matter of fact, even if the laws we want to pass this week, they don't really have grandfather clauses, do they? That's to April's point, in the sense that some of the things that just went on the books since 2020, including in Georgia, these laws, if they pass the Senate, won't necessarily reverse those in time for this current election year, will they?
Right. That's still a battle that remains to be fought. The part of the hope is that, as it continues to go through whatever conference process there would be to merge the Senate versions as well as the House versions, that maybe that's something that could get added in. These bills have actually been being changed even throughout 2021, not just in the sense of the Manchin, compromises that, sought to take some things out, but even in the sense of there are things related to election subversion that were added in later in 21 after we had a better idea of what was going on with all these attempts to subvert elections, taking over local boards and things of that nature. So they've been changed even as 2021 was moving forward. And as they go into conference, once passed by both chambers, that kind of grandfather clause, that type of retroactive look back, that's something that, we'd have to just keep fighting to try to get to be put in. We also know that applies not only to the bills themselves, but what else has been passed. These maps have been passed, and that's an even trickier situation, because then it's not just a matter of what kind of look backs you put in. It's about the courts, who traditionally are very hesitant to undo districts after some of the election process has started, right? And what we know is that there's primary elections that are actually getting started just in a couple of weeks. There's ballots that are being printed based on some of these gerrymandered districts. Ballots are already being printed. And so courts get very hesitant once you've already printed ballots, once you've already had a primary, to then go back and say, you know what, this was a bad district. Let's just undo it and pretend like that election didn't already take place. So we're really getting to the point where being able to look back at some stuff is going to be incredibly difficult, but that's still a part of the battle that we're in. And as we were just saying, as LaTosha was just saying, we're used to making possible that which a lot of people think is impossible. So, we're just going to claim that we're going to find a way to get some of this bad stuff overturned and just make it do what it got to do.
As you talk to voters, LaTosha, what are some of them saying in light of all this that's been happening or that has not been happening?
Why the world think Black folks want something different that everybody else don't want? We want everything. We vote for people. We want stuff. I mean, it's right. Like at the end of the day, if we voted for people, we want them to deliver. It ain't rocket science. Black folks came out in record numbers because they wanted like literally when we talk about the George Floyd uprising, right? That there was a major push where Black folks in this country, we've been real clear about talking about what we want in this country. That's it. We've been real clear, right? We haven't asked to oppress nobody else. We ain't asked you to make white folks sit in the corner. What we said is we wanted equity, that we want economic opportunity, that we want criminal justice reform. We want the police to stop killing us, to brutalizing our community. We want to have access to fair access to and for voting. It is everything else that any human being that's in this country should want. And so fundamentally, what people are feeling, what I'm at the end of the day, they're expecting what's to deliver. Right? Mm-hmm. It's like the Janet Jackson principle. What have you done for me lately? You continuously coming over and over again saying people to vote, but then people are saying, what is it that we're going to deliver? And so I think that it is a valid question, and it is a question that we can't protect electors around. They've got to answer that question. And part of our job in democracy is holding those that we've put in office to account. That is part of the democratic process. And so I think, right now it is a part of what we see in this culture in this country has been designed in such a way that that people don't feel the power to rule, that people don't feel like they have the authority or the ability or the knowledge to govern themselves. The bottom line is, damn it, we want what everybody else wants. Republicans want money, damn, we want money, right? The Republicans want to be able to actually live in quality housing. Why you don't think we want that? Right? We want quality education like everybody else. So my point is, it is a simple, sometimes I think that is lost in the translation around, we create all these things and these big policy reforms. Folks, when they get sick, they want to be able to go to a doctor and not go bankrupt. It ain't that deep. It ain't rocket science. So I'm raising that because I think it's really important for us to be honest and critical of what is happening, and know that the frustration of our people is not because Black folk are asking for something that nobody else wants, but we're asking, like, what we want is what we actually put you in office for. You know what we want. You came to us telling us what you were going to do when you ran for office. So I think it's important for us to recognize that in this moment in time that we are in, and I do think that this was a critical point that Biden made in the speech, right? That we are in a defining moment. I really hope he understands that, right? And I hope that he actually moves like this is a defining moment. Because if we can continue this, we can't continue the same political back and forth like we in some kind of football game, like we in the Super Bowl. There's a red team and a blue team, and what team you on? I'm on the human team. I'm on the team that want to have health care. I'm on the team that wants to have quality education. I'm on the team that wants to have justice. I'm on the team that I ain't got to fear for my child walking out the door and getting shot in the street like he's a dog. That's what I want. And so I believe that we actually just need to speak and give voice to that. And we need to fight like hell to make sure that we get it and hold those accountable that try to stand in the way. It's really that simple.
More MIP after this message. So, April, if there's anything that you would like to see Biden do in the coming days, what would that be? What can he do? Because the right now, isn't the ball pretty much in the Senate's court? Now, I know most presidents can get senators to do what they want to do. What's going on here?
It is in the Senate's court, right? At the end of the day, the Senate is the one who has to, carve out the exception and then force the vote and allow the simple majority to pass these legislation. I mean, it's, at the end of the day, they are the ones that are responsible for doing that. And what they needed was the president, as you know, is the leader of the party, right? And so he, now in expressing that to kill and make the carve out of the filibuster in a way to make this go forward, then, he needs to take that same zeal that he had back to DC, right? And have those meetings with those particular senators, right? Sinema and Manchin and any other, because quiet as is kept, it's not just the two of them that have been delaying, openly coming out and talking about making this carve out, right? And Biden knows who those people are. And so he needs to have that same passion and zeal that he presented, in Georgia today, calling them by name, and framing for them, right? Like he said, are you going to be the side of a Bull O'Connor? Or are you going to be on the side of a Martin Luther King? And making it plain to those people so that we can get this carve out, because it is not a done deal, right? That they're going to vote for that carve out. And so but I think it's important, as LaTosha was saying, we expect that when we use our vote and you represent you're going to do something, that you go and you do it. We are no longer considering speeches as action, right? Yeah. And a lot of times, marginalized communities, what we get is speeches. And when it fails, it's, I tried. Right? And so we're not going to tolerate that anymore. If the Democratic Party truly wants Black folk and Latino folks and, other members of our community to come out and be supportive of their platforms and to continue to vote for them, then they're going to have to deliver the things that they promised. And so at Black Voters Matter, we are committed, right, to not a party. We are committed to justice and issues that matter to us. And so it can be uncomfortable sometimes because, a lot of folk don't like that, right? But at the end of the day, we've got to shift our mindset and expectations around what is acceptable for our vote. What is acceptable for our time and what is acceptable for the resources, right? Because this is about resources too. What are we going to expect in return for those things that we have constantly given to this party? So, and Biden has to understand that.
Yes, ma'am. I know y'all got to run. Cliff, but before you go, though, what is Black Voters Matter asking our listeners and the public to do in the days leading up to this Martin Luther King Jr. holiday deadline?
Yeah, I mean, the call remains. The family put out the call, no celebration without legislation, right? We want this to be a holiday, and not just the holiday itself, but these 5-6 days leading up to it. Not just about community service, not this year. There's a space for community service, but Dr. King was about advocacy. He was about justice, right? And so in this particular moment, what we're asking folks to do is to lean in, as we've been saying about President Biden, that he needs to lean in. We all need to lean in. Now is the time to call our senators and make sure that don't just tell them I want you to support the voting rights, because they'll all say at least all the Democrats, they'll say they support it. But we need them to say, I'm going to support it. And I'm also going to we want you to encourage your Senate colleagues to do what President Biden just gave a whole speech doing. So call your senators, call the White House, tell President Biden, hey, nice speech, follow it up, right? We need to see some action. He needs to be on the phone. He should have been on the phone as soon as he finished the speech and finished high-fiving everybody. He should have been on the phone with Joe, the other Joe. So I'm like, hey, Joe, how do you like the speech? How about you come on over to the White House? Let's talk about it, right? Let's grab a bite to eat and let's talk about how we're going to get this done. So he should have been acting on the speech as soon as he finished it. That's what we need to see over the next 24, 48 hours. And all of us have a role to play. Call your senators, call your White House, hook up with an organization that does this work, right? Do something. Everybody has a role that we can play. Send a text message, right? But everybody's got a role that we can play in moving forward and making sure that the president meets the promise that he made to us today in this speech.
LaTosha, you have set a precedent now. You set a bar for yourself. So why don't you bless us and take us on home?
Listen, you're going to try. You have me in this moment. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what will come up. In this moment, this is, I don't know if people are feeling how I'm feeling. I'm feeling all kind of emotions. On one hand, I want to be hopeful, but I'm sad. I really wish I could act like I'm not. I'm sad. It's 2022 and we got to have a damn speech about getting folks to support voting rights for Black folk in 2022, right? Like we got to have, we've got to, it's the, and then and then there are Black people who are actually upset saying that y'all call Biden out. Like, what y'all think this is? This ain't no doggone, this ain't what you think this is. This ain't no popularity contest, right? We talking about power, and so I'm raising this not so much as my folks, the part about that, instead of even making me frustrated more than anything, that makes me sad. It makes me sad because we have been so conditioned in the context of this political existence in America that we don't even think that we have the right to demand anything. Yeah. That we literally allowed ourselves to get to such a place in this country and in this space that we think that it's okay for us to be able to get leftovers at the extent that we get leftovers. That we think that it is okay that if we're actually invited to the dinner, that it doesn't matter that we had to find the cow, skin the cow, cut up the cow while we watch white folks eat the steak, right? Like that in some way that we've made that be okay. And so what I believe in the midst of this, and so I know you asked me the same, but what I believe in the midst of this is that there is something that is actually being birthed in all of us. Like, while this is indicative right now, this fight that we have around calling Cinema and Manchin the obstructionist, the racist to the carpet, and pushing, the bottom line is this is a racist ass structural system, political system in this country. Bottom line. And it will continue to be so, which is why we have to radically reimagine something different, and we have to replace it. And we have the audacity to look at ourselves not just as citizens of this current nation. We have to start thinking of ourselves as founders of a new nation. And if that is to be so, we're going to have to shift our mind of what it means to look at governance. We're going to have to shift our mind of what leadership looks like and what accountability looks like, even with ourselves, among ourselves. And in that space, in that spirit, I'll just say, well, the first thing I did right was the day I started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on. We were never fighting for the right to vote because we were trying to validate this system. We were literally asserting our humanity, and all we want in this country is liberation, to be free, are free in the fullness of who we are. That's it. And we have to be relentless and resilient to get it.
Amen. As you say, Reverend, they say, as Jesus said, I rebuke those that I love.
Amen. 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 Well, folks, Black Voters Matter. We're thankful to have LaTosha, Cliff, and April with us. Let me just say this, folks. This is me talking about Black Voters Matter. These are my comrades and friends. Yeah. It is unfair for the Democratic Party, anybody else, to demand Black Voters Matter do all the heavy lifting. They must deliver. If Cliff, LaTosha, and April have to do all the work and all the heavy lifting, then we might as well put them in the White House. Make LaTosha the president and April the vice president and Cliff the chief of staff. You saw what I did, Cliff. I put the women up front, but that's cool. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, if they're gonna do it, if they don't make it happen, then maybe they need to be the president. Maybe they need to be in the White House. So I'm just going. That's me talking. That's not Black Voters Matter. I don't want to get nobody in no trouble. That's me, y'all. But I appreciate the three of you. We're gonna keep fighting, y'all. We're gonna keep fighting together as Tasha just sung for us. Thank you all for joining us. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all.
Thank you for making it plain.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for getting woke and listening to Make It Plain. Please remember to listen, like, and wherever you get your podcasts, please give the show a 5-star rating. And please do spread the word. Let's all continue to pray for each other during this pandemic and this police-demic. If all hearts and minds are clear, it has been made plain.
Nice buns, soft, fluffy, and ultra-low net carbs. Discover Hero Bread, the delicious ultra-low net carb bread with incredible taste and texture. Hero Bread has 0 grams of sugar and is under 100 calories per serving. Plus, high in fiber with 5 to 10 grams of protein per serving. Order from hero.co now and get 10% off your first purchase with promo code AH10. That's 10% off with code AH10. HERO.co.
Joining a gym fashionably late this year? You're right on time. At Planet Fitness, we got you. Because now through January 31st, you can still join for just 24 cents down, $10 a month. Cancel anytime. And to make it even better, we have free fitness training, equipment for every workout, plus a free in-app crowd meter, and most clubs open 24 hours. Feel good about being fashionably late. It's the last chance to join Planet Fitness for just 24 cents down, $10 a month. Cancel anytime. Hurry. Deal ends January 31st. See Home Club for details.